Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I've got Colin on the channel, MM0OPX, because Colin's been doing a hell of a lot of work on HexBeams. Some of the work and development he's done is appropriate to me when I'm thinking about building my quad. But let's talk about HexBeams to start with, because Colin's got a channel where he's documented all this. It's fine. So just quickly, Colin, because you mentioned to me that you're an engineer as well, and one of the reasons you found all these components is over the last 1,000 years, you've kept your eyes open for little bits. Oh, that'll be handy. That'll be handy.
I'm a manufacturing engineer, so it's kind of,
yeah.
I would say it's kind of mid-size engineering, machining, assembly. So that's the type of company I work in, and you know we make stuff. It's a production facility. We're putting in machines, we're taking machines out, and I see all this industrial kit every day. So I'm always looking at saying, I can use that for this, or I can use this for that. So it's really quite a good, works out quite well.
So how many HexBeams have you built so far? Because you're on your, second or third kind of major project right now.
This is the first proper HexBeam that I've built, but it's taken me over 15 months from start to finish because I got a bit scunnered with it. But I did have a commercially built one back in 2012, 2013. It was an SP7 IDX, the late Waldy, and it was an excellent piece of kit. And the plan was to put it up when I moved house, but my wife, then girlfriend at the time, she was having none of it. So I have the tower, and I have a dipole from it. And when I told her, I says, I'm going to put that up there, and she says, there's no bleeping way that's going up there. So. Hence why I like to do things portable. So I like to put it up quick, take it down. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Now you recently did a video where you took your HexBeam and you had it up in about 20 minutes or something. Is that right?
That was the first proper time of everything being snagged, everything being done, and it was just under 24 minutes. But I reckon I can get it under 20 with a bit of practice.
Let's just think about the major components of a HexBeam.
Yep.
All right. And we'll spend some time on each of these. We've got the center post, which is quite easy to homebrew if you want to, but I want to talk to you about that calculation about making a coaxial center post. More hassle, more hassle, but whatever. Then we got the spreaders, and you've done quite a lot of development on spreaders.
Yeah, talk a bit about that. I'm going to grab one.
And then we've got wire. Okay, the type of wire, and then how we connect that wire to an element, to a spreader. Now, by the way, not everybody's going to want to make a portable HexBeam like yourself, Colin. They might want some heavier duty type spreaders, for instance. So I know you've done a lot of work and thinking and research regarding element to spreader connections, for instance. But let's start off with a HexBeam, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've got a W and an M effectively.
Yes.
And I'll try and find a graphic on the screen, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
Guys, got it there. There it is there. So it's a compressed 2-element Yagi. And then what we've got is a center post with various taps, if you like, for, let's say, 20 at the bottom, which is actually the top. And then each band, 17, 15, 12, 10, 6 maybe, whatever else, comes down. But it's restricted to a 2-element, compact, multi-band Yagi. But it's very clever. It's in the shape of a hex. All right, so, Colin, tell me about your thinking. How center posts, all right? You've built a really simple center post with coax going around the outside. But you and I have discussed coaxial center posts as well. So there's pros and cons for both. Just kind of guide me, take me down a line.
So
somewhere.
I think the best resource, or one of the best resources, if you're doing it simply, is K4KIO. So he uses a PVC center post and he puts coax up it. So that's basically what I've done, and I've used coax jumpers for simplicity. But as you say, we've been talking about a coaxial feed, and if you look at all the commercial HexBeams, so nearly them all use a coaxial feed. So it's a round tube or a square tube, and inside that tube they have It could be a round bar. It could be a bit flat bar. So it's like a piece of air coax. That's the best way to describe it. But it's very specific. The sizes of the outer to the inner. That's the two outer diameters of the conductors. The two conductors. That's what I've found is critical, and that's what matters when you put the data into the calculators to try and work this out. But I've discovered that if you do it like the coaxial one, I look at a lot of commercial guys and they use quite a big diameter tube, around about 40 millimeters, sometimes a little bit bigger. And some of them use a square box section with something inside it. And I think they do that because there becomes issues when you actually try to connect this thing up mechanically, because you need to get a bolt through it, and insulate it as it goes through the outer, and then connect it to the inner. And I actually modelled this up, some 3D CAD, and I couldn't get it to work easily. I couldn't just basically offset it, slide it in, and then pull it back across and put it in the middle. So that's...
So the problem is, if you take, for instance, a massive piece of coax, which is 2 inches or 50 mil diameter, we got this copper rod going right down the middle or whatever, and then we got this braid on the outside. So our HexBeam driven point, then we've got one leg of our dipole comes off the outside, and the other leg comes off the inside. All right, and we've got to not only tap that permanently inside, we've then got to insulate this little thing, stainless aluminium peg or whatever else. So that needs to be permanent. I've got to insulate it from the braid on the outside and come out, and that's our tap point for one of the elements.
Exactly. And you can actually buy a lot of these. I think they call them insulating bushes. So there's obviously an industrial use for these, because I looked them up, and you can buy like M6 insulating bushes. If you just Google insulating bushes, it comes up a number of things. So you can do it.
Yeah.
But what's critical is obviously the spacing of that inner tube to the outer. The calculators all have it concentric to each other. Where K4KIO, he's the only guy I've seen. He's actually been brave enough, and I think it's quite good that he's actually shown people how he does it. So he uses a piece of flat bar inside his centre post. But what's critical is that distance of that bit of flat bar to one side, because it's not centred, it's offset, and that distance is critical to keep the impedance of 50 ohms.
50. So we need 50 ohms everywhere, like a piece of coax would. Now, you discovered a little magic formula or something?
Yeah.
So if you've got the centre of the coax coming up here and the braid, on the outside, there was some relative calculation between the distance. Do you happen to know what that was?
2.3 times. So whatever you either multiply the inner to get the outer, or divide the outer to get the inner, and it's about 2.3.
Yeah. And is there a website that does this, or was it a piece of software?
This was a website that I discovered that through, but I then discovered a piece of software called AppCAD, and I believe it's no longer supported. But AppCAD is a piece of RF software. It's for professionals, but you can free to download it. And one of the modules within that software is transmission line design. So you can actually put in, and it's really easy to use. You just put in a little diagram. You just put in your sizes, and it tells you what the impedance would be. So I've done it both ways, and it's both the same. It's probably using the same maths at the end of the day.
K4KIO. He's got some sort of insulated bush, and then you can't just touch the bar. You'd have to sort of screw it in and tighten it up somehow.
So
I assume.
You get these. I don't know what they're like. I've never actually used them, but you get these rivet. It's like a rivet, and it basically compresses. So you can get them in stainless steel, so you can put them through the aluminium, and they compress, and they leave it's like a captive stud or a captive nut. Sorry, a captive nut. So that's one way you can do it. If you got them in aluminium, it would be all the better. So I'm not exactly sure how he does it. He may. He can't weld it because he's welding stainless to aluminium, so he can't do that. So that's one thing that he can't do.
Yeah. And then how does he? So he's now through the outside. How does he attach the stud, if you like, to the inside?
See, that's an interesting problem. So he's got a spacer on the inside, so when he tightens it up, pulls it against it and clamps. So he's obviously got some sort of captive nut or something that he's got. I mean,
fascinating.
If he does it, the easiest way that he can maybe do it is if he fits his studs to that inner flat bar and then drops it in and then pushes it through.
And then once pulls it,
once you put it through, all you then need to do is put your insulating bush from the outside, which is a spigot and a flange, which then goes round the little diameter, and then that would give you your insulation. That's kind of jumper one, and that was an old choke I had. I've got a sleeve choke on it now, actually, which is a bit...
okay, fine.
Bit better. Yeah, there you go. So that's a bit better. So you can see... You can see how I've got jumpers. That's actually the back side, and I've used these little hydraulic clamps.
Yeah, indeed.
So it's quite simple the way I've done it.
Is that those clamps? I seem to remember Stauf.
Yes, it's exactly the same clamp, but I use the RSB branded ones.
Okay.
And they're as far as I can tell, they're the same spec, but they seem to be a bit less expensive than buying Stauf ones.
Yeah.
But they do have the whole range.
So the distance between each of those, what we're seeing there, is a feed point for a different element. At the moment, you've got 4 on there, or is that 5 at the top?
20 through 10. I didn't bother putting 6 on it. I might do it at some point, but I didn't see the benefit in that just now.
Now we've got 2 schools of thought when it comes to spreaders. Let's start with the boss. Is that what you would call it? The bit at the bottom to hold, because you've got a nice little homebrew. Kind of boss
you
thing.
Mean the base plate? You mean? So I modelled it up initially, and then basically from that I created a drilling template.
Printed it actual size on paper, did you? I've done that.
If you're not doing production, it's not like giving it to somebody and putting it on their CNC machine, but it works great, and it looks really,
I know. I've done it.
So that's how I've been doing it. Let's find out.
Very nice. Yeah. So the very centerpiece. Now you sent me a link to that very centerpiece. Beautiful.
Yeah, I've got
looking piece of kit. Oh, you've got one there.
They seem to come in 20, 25, 30, and maybe 40. I think they call them a shaft support coupling or something. Yeah. Something like. But I like to put one top and bottom, so it just gives it a bit more support and sandwich it. And they're really inexpensive. They're super cheap. You can get them on Amazon. Or if you want to wait, get them from AliExpress for a couple of quid.
And in the main, is they aluminium?
Yes, they're aluminium.
And are they threaded all the way through, or do you have to put a bolt and a nut?
No, so they're threaded all the way through, so there's a little clamp that does that. Yeah. Okay, but potentially what I thought was you could actually drill the back side, and you could basically put something through if you wanted to stop it turning radially, although I don't think it honestly would. But
once you've got I see what you mean. Yeah, okay.
If you're building something that's a bit more heavy duty, then you could do that. But there's
how thick? Sorry to interrupt. How thick a disc did you use? 3 millimeters?
Yes, this is 3 millimeters. But if you were making one, I remember, 1/8 of an inch. I remember the commercial one I had. It was 1/4 inch, so it was 6 mil. So if you're going to put it up, I would say get the thicker one if you're going to make a sort of permanent HexBeam.
Permanent, yeah, okay. Yeah, lovely. And then those Stauf clamps, or the ones that you've sourced, you can either, I think, specify them with or without bolts. I can't remember. So you've used, by the look of it, stainless there, have you?
I've just used stainless going through them. Yeah, you can get them with the top plate on them, which are like the heavy duty versions.
That's right.
I think these are classed as light duty.
Yes, and I've seen it with Allen keys going through them as well.
Yeah, and then obviously you need to get something through the middle. So I've got little bits of aluminium tube.
I watched your video on that because your fiberglass spreaders just slot in those, don't they?
Yes, they're lovely. And that's why I wanted to do so I could take them in and out easily.
Yes, sorry to interrupt. The wires hold it in place, so you don't need to bolt it, do you?
No, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
By the time you've got that thing tensioned up, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Okay, so I mean that if you've got even a hand drill, if you're careful, you could do that. Print it out first. You could do that in Visio. There's a lot of SketchUp. There's a lot of free stuff as well where you can print that out on A4 paper or regular letter paper.
Well, I've got the template. Sorry, button, Callum. I've got that on my videos. I've got the link at the bottom, and you can actually download that
on your
template.
Videos.
You can download that template, print it out, and you don't need to do that. But yeah, minimum tools. A hacksaw. You buy these discs ready-made. A hand drill, a hacksaw, Allen keys. It's really minimum stuff. You need a lot to build this.
A lot of fun. Okay, so we've done the center post. We've done the hub, if you like, the base plate, whatever else. And that's. Is there any other? I mean, there's heavier duty. If somebody wanted to go up to 2-inch or 50 mil. On the center post, there's other. I remember you sent me a link of a huge. it was almost scaffold pole type.
That's effectively what it is. I think it's like scaffold pole type stuff, or I think you get these like what do you call it? It's like this industrial barriers that goes up. You get these flange mounts that basically connect to the floor and stuff. You can use one of them. That's like what they can use, these big bulky things. That's it. So you can go to quite big sizes quite readily, and not at a great expense.
You've found a way using tent poles, which we'll cover in a minute. You must have looked before you went down the tent pole world. You must have found maybe other solutions as well that you've written off for whatever reason. It was probably down to weight, because there's a company, the advertising Radcom, is it Engineering Composites? There's a company down south. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Heavy duty stuff though.
And that's the problem. I looked at that stuff and it looked the business. I thought you could get that. I could get bits of tube and use that as ferrules and join it together, and that would be okay for something that's going up permanent like the commercial guys use. But because I had built a 10-metre moccasin, I then built a 15-metre moccasin from tent poles. I thought I would just continue to do that because they're cheap. And you can buy them anywhere in the world. Everyone's got, it's in every country. So you can buy tent poles.
You've done a good video about your tent poles and how minor modification, but how you took the kind of steel ferrules off and all that.
But that's what I must have had a break for about 4 or 5 months, because when I built the 10-metre moccasin, I thought I used the 8mm poles, or they're 7.9, and I thought I'm going to use the 8mm poles. So I put this thing up with 8mm poles, and it was just hopeless. I tensioned it up, and it just sagged.
Got it.
And my heart just broke, because I thought all this work, and it just didn't. So I thought, no, I'm going to have a break from this.
Okay.
So until I got my inspiration back, and I thought, right, what do I need to do to actually get this going again? So I said, I need to go up a size, and I looked at some of the. There's I think it was a folding HexBeam in Germany that was using 10mm fiberglass, although I don't know what type it was. And then I said, you know what? I'll gamble on these 11mm poles, and they seem to work.
Oh, they're 11, are they? Right.
11.
Okay.
Yep, they're 11.
Yeah. And that's got enough.
It's got enough. It's probably going to take you up to 30, 40, 50 mile an hour winds, not putting it up too high. I reckon if you go any more than that, you need to go bigger. You need to go the heavy duty route. Because I noticed again, the commercial guys have got these like it's like extra supports that come down from the center post.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah,
storm supports or something they call them.
That's right. It's like making a suspension bridge, with all the struts and trusses and everything. It's just so it can't go anywhere.
Exactly. So,
fine.
But you can put it up and take it down quickly. For my needs, it's fine. You know what I mean? If I need
of course.
It's cool. Horses for
all right. So about 10 minutes. Did you say 10? Is that what you settled on, or 11? I can't remember.
11.
11.
Yeah.
So you settled on 11. So it's 11 all the way to the end.
Yep, 11 all the way to the end.
Oh, and there they are. There we are.
So
that's right. And you put shock cord through the lot.
Yeah, and the shock cord, it's probably the really cheap shock cord. It's not the stuff you use, but it comes in the kit. You see, if you buy a tent pole replacement kit, it comes in it. So I thought, I might as well not waste it. I'll just
No, indeed. Perfect.
But and at the end, it's really easy. The ferrule just gets drilled through. I've got a stainless steel keychain I make sure they're stainless steel, drill that through it, and then I've got the wires, the rope supports on it, and I leave
all the supports,
little S hooks,
That's right, and each of the support comes to the top of the centre post.
Yeah, so there's there's 6 go in the way, and then there's 6 go around the circumference.
Yeah, okay.
And because it's completely symmetrical, they're all the same size, so it doesn't matter.
Forever.
Yes. Yeah. But that's critical. That's just one point. That's critical that I would say make them all within 1/4 of an inch of each other. Because if they're not accurate, you'll find that you get it rocks and it'll flop about until you connect on that last one round the outside, and then it just locks up.
Yeah, and it locks in. Yeah, okay, fine.
Yep.
All right, now you and I have also spoken about how to connect our, well, we'll do wire in a minute, but how to connect our wire elements and keep them tensioned out to the end or to the appropriate place on the spreader. Because I've been doing my quad development, or certainly get my thinking on my quad, and it's sort of similar challenges that you've had, and you've been very kind and supported that and given me some ideas, all the way from the big armoured cable cleats and the big NATO D-rings, which frankly I think is probably the best idea for me anyway, all the way through to a couple of P-clips sort of thing. But so the problem is this: we've got a spreader coming up like this, and then we need to connect an element to it. So we've got something that's required 90 degrees to each other. It needs
to be perpendicular, and that's the problem. That's always the issue. How do you turn that?
So what's your thinking been on element clips? I know you've got a great video on the last clip with that little black thing you found, which was lovely. But you must have done quite a lot of thinking down that route.
And that was probably the thing that gave me the most headaches to actually come up with. And it doesn't seem, you think, oh, that would be easy. But as far as I've found, there is nothing just standard on the market that works. There's nothing. So unless you have something specifically made, molded, whatever, you've got to try and make do with what's out there. And that's one thing that I'm like, I mean, these little clips that I use, they're fine, and they're never going to break. But they're not what you want for your application. You want something that's going to be a bit beefier, or like the
for me, but let's take the homebrew Hex guy. These are actually, what are his options? That's good for 10, 11 mil, whatever.
Yeah, that's 10, 11 mil. You could then use like the cable ties, and you can put a P-clip and actually put the P-clip between the cable tie. Sorry, I'm talking rubbish here. The P-clip between the Jubilee clip or the hose clamp and the fiberglass pole, and you can clamp it round.
I've seen a picture of that. I think you sent me it, actually. Yeah.
You
and then fingers crossed it'll all stay. So we can start with a hose clamp.
Yes, we start with a hose
clamp. And then
clamp.
it's a case of getting something perpendicular to that hose clamp, isn't it? That our wire element can go through.
I did try other things on my. I've got a big blooming box here, and this is all my.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is Colin's museum box.
This is only the HexBeam museum, because this is the stuff that either didn't work or was used for development. So it's a cheap thing to build, but the amount of money I spent actually trying to blooming get things to work.
Getting there.
But that was half the fun, So I actually made up 30 of these. Here's a stainless steel Jubilee clip with a little D-ring on it. Okay? Which was...
Oh my goodness. You had to unscrew every one.
Yes.
Put the D-ring on. And then put it back.
Yeah. And these were on the 8mm ones, because before I thought I should have tested that first on the 8mm post, which I didn't use. But
did you use an electric screwdriver?
No, I didn't, and I've got one. And I didn't use it. I don't think I did. No, and I didn't use an electric one because I was worried about crushing the pipes, the tubes. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
But so that was one way that you could do it. There was another way.
You don't have an armored cable cleat there, do you?
No, I don't. I don't. Another one was using a hose clip and a little bit of tube. That's barrier pipe. plumber's barrier pipe.
Now, interestingly, so Cubex Quads in the US, the owner of that company wrote to me very kindly, and basically said that's what they do.
Yeah, that's so. And I hadn't seen one of those genuinely. So there you go. There's one there.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
fine.
It together.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that would work. You see, because the pipe's got a bit of give in it to allow the hose clamp to still clamp.
Yep.
But anyway, you went down those clips. Now, have you had any slippage with these little clips?
Zero. And I don't think I will get slippage because it's got a stopper which I've used glue line heat shrink, and that doesn't really go anywhere.
That's right. No,
I've got another solution to use for stoppers, because you need to get the tension absolutely right before you fit that, and you can't adjust these on the fly.
Of course.
So if on fuel pipes, especially on cars, obviously, sometimes they use a hose clip, but sometimes they use it's like a little spring-loaded clip that you just press together.
That's it.
Yeah. Now you can get those in stainless. See those fitted over. You could use those as your stops. So
and then as you're doing your final adjustment, you'll be able to move it.
Yeah. So I'm going to buy some of them. If I do something else, I'm going to use them next time instead of using the
Mark 3 or Mark 4. Let's think portable for a minute. What are all the different ideas you've had for portable use and heights?
A lot of people that have got HexBeams, they seem to say they work well at low heights, which is kind of goes against what the physics say. So I'm not really sold on that. For me, you still want to get it up 8 or 9 meters in the air, whatever that is. I don't know what's.
I would agree.
That's
well, ideally, if you can hit 30 feet, you've got a winner, haven't you? And anything above 25 feet, you're starting to get a winner.
Yes. So you need to get up about that. I've got it's just a Waymo pole. It's 11 meters with all the sections in it, but I take a couple out, so it's going to give me like 9 meters, which is tall enough. It's going to be pretty strong. So I've got that. It's got 30 feet, so I can get 30 feet with that. It's not particularly heavy. You wouldn't want to lug it up a mountain, but you could easily throw it in the back of the car. So I've got some different guiding points and stuff on that, and
is that the aluminium
it's aluminium one, and the tip section was 20 mil. So I take the tip section, tip section out, and I put this in it instead. So it just slots in it, and it just clamps round about it.
And in its collapsed form, what's the height
of the mast?
Yeah,
the mast, I think, is about 1.5 meters. It's not terribly small.
Okay, so it's manageable.
Absolutely. I think they do two versions. They do like a shorter version, which is what that is, and then they do a bigger version, which is like 1.8, 2 meters type of thing. That's quite crazy. That's quite awkward to put in the back of your car and stuff to talk about, you know.
So that would be the sort of thing I would buy and then realise I've made a mistake.
Yes.
Because you just can't get there.
Yeah.
All right, so far so good then. We haven't got any elements on now.
No.
So what are all the different options? You must have thought about element wires.
Yeah, so because it's lightweight, I thought I need to try and keep to the lightweight theme. So I mean, I looked at all sorts of wires. I've got loads here, like just like cheap PVC coated wire, but I don't have any your D10 stuff, or DX10, I should say. But it's normal PVC stuff's got memory in it, and I just don't like it because of that. So I didn't want to use that because you're going to take it up and down. And I know a lot of people are going to be shouting at the screen at the minute, but I've used stainless steel wire for this. And yes, there might be slightly less loss, but I really don't think you're going to notice it.
No. What's that, 1 mil?
That's 1 mil. It's extremely light, and you really don't need to do much with it. I just put you get a little copper ferrule in it that I've got, and I've created a little loop.
Yeah,
I've done that, and always put a little bit of heat shrink round about it, because see if you get one of those little strands in your hand, you're going to know about
it. You'll be going, ow.
Yeah. So, and that connects. It's maybe hard to see, but I've got on the center post here, I've got 2 plain washers.
Yes.
And So all you do...
you can slip that over.
Yep. Oh, I'm not making a...
What a good idea.
Yeah, so it's really simple in the field because you don't need any tools. You just you just put that over. Yeah, put that over like that. Tighten it up till the spring washer takes tension, and that's it.
Yeah, indeed.
So it was a really... I mean, and you could use the solution if you've got your little fork connectors or something. That would do,
couldn't you? Yeah,
that would work fine as well. So I used this stuff because I had a load of it. It was light. It was cheap, and I was actually able to put it on all these old fishing reels that I had lying about. So I've got each band on a reel. So I put that on the latest video that I shown. So you basically just hook that on one end and then just pull it right round, and you will never ever tangle this up.
Yeah, that's right. Because your clips, you put a hole in, so you could a little slot, and then you don't have to thread it now. You just clump it in.
Correct, because that's certainly the way to do it. I mean, but I mean, there is other options. You get like that really thin Kevlar wire I've seen about that. Is it DX wire? There's a guy in Germany that does it. It's like a smaller version of the stuff you have, the DX50.
Yeah,
you got a smaller version of that, and that would be interesting to try. But I don't know how much power it handles. Or you could maybe look at like the DX50 would be quite nice stuff to put on that. It would be good because it's nice and flexible for taking off.
Yeah, it is. The tangleability of wire, as you know, is almost as important as how well it works and uses. Because you're getting a mess out in the field, and you are. I mean, I bought loads of stuff, on eBay over the years, before DX Commander was who it is. I've given it all away now, but you would take it off. RS Components did some really nice equipment wire. Well, I thought it was until I pulled it off and it went useless. Absolutely useless.
No, I mean, we always, sometimes we have to sort of put convenience and practicality a little bit of ahead of what we maybe actually think we should be using.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well,
Colin, is there any last tips you want to give the homebrew builder out there that you've...
Don't give up, because this is an easily doable project.
Yeah.
And you will get this thing up, and if you've never had a 20-meter beam, you will put this thing up for the first time, and you will be shocked, and you'll be, but just don't be scared. Just go for it.
Do it. Yeah.
Just do it, and because I would give up on projects years ago, but now I just get on with it, and I just one final point: if you have a problem and you're feeling peed off or whatever, go to bed on it. Just go to bed, and I'll guarantee you, within a day or two, you'll think of a solution and you'll go back to it and you fix it.
Absolutely right. Have a sleep on it. Definitely, there's nothing wrong with it. Or if you're getting in a pickle, I've always found getting in a pickle and you're getting frustrated yourself, just stop now. Go and have a coffee, minimum. If you still can't fix it, just stop it today and have a sleep. You wake up in the morning and go, oh, do you know what? I think I know how I can do this now. Yeah. Now, you've got parts lists and everything else on your channel, and I think you've got the HexBeam development as a playlist as well.
Yeah. I've got that as a
playlist.
So
I'll put a link to all of that down there, and then I don't have to show you all his parts and everything else. Go to Colin's channel; he's got all that. That's fine.
It's about. I think I'm up to about 170 quid for all the parts, which I think is pretty good value for building something like this.
So that's about just over $200 then. You can build yourself, and it's not hard.
No,
it's just something, and it must be extremely rewarding. I mean, I know you've spent 4 times that because of all your development.
But extremely rewarding, and because I think it's quite daunting. But the fact that I've put these basic bill of materials, the guys can click on the links and they can go and look at it, and they can get it. They can get it easily, So have a go.
All the building blocks.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Colin, thanks very much, mate, for joining me tonight, and hopefully for you at home who've watched this, I'll get some added value. All right, so from me and Colin,
thanks for having me.
All the best.